guys, how's it going? Today we are in the studio working with some houseplants. We've got 5 different varieties. They're all beautiful, very different varieties. We need to repot all of them and one of them needs to be divided. So 4 of them are sitting here on the work surface, which look at that philodendron. This one is a lickety split is the variety. They've got these big, massive leaves. It's just a very impressive size, an impressive plant, and I really would like to put this in our house. Then we've got a ponytail palm right here. I just thought that this was so pretty. And then we've got a Cooper's Haworthia or Haworthia cooperi, which you can see this is the one that needs to be divided like a long time ago. We've got the mama plant here surrounded by a bunch of babies, so we'll get that all taken care of. We've got a bird's nest fern, which this is probably the most bulletproof fern variety I've ever taken care of. We picked this up on a recent plant shopping trip, maybe a couple of weeks ago. I just haven't got around to repotting it. And then we have the most glorious sago palm. Look at how pretty this plant is. It's huge. We were recently down at the garden center and I brought you guys along right after they got a new load of houseplants in, and I did see the sago and the ponytail palm and this big philodendron, and I did not pick them up that day. We did get a beautiful mix of plants. Those are still in the Hartley. We'll be working with those soon. But these were kind of on my mind, and actually the day I was down there, it was like 8 in the morning that I went down there, and then we flew out to San Diego at 11 o'clock or noon or somewhere right around there that same day. And so we were down in Southern California and I was seeing these types of plants planted in the ground and looking absolutely beautiful, and it kind of inspired me. And I thought when we get home, I'm gonna run down and pick those plants up. I don't have a tremendous amount of experience with this type of plant. I've taken care of them before, just insofar as taking care of them down at the garden center when I was in charge of houseplants, but you know, we don't have plants long-term down there. They kind of come and go. So I know some cursory information on hopefully how to keep this happy. In fact, I think I'm gonna keep it in here. We kind of have 2 choices for an area with higher humidity. We have the studio, which is high humidity and a very consistent, like 69, 70 degree temperature. And then we have the plastic greenhouse, which is humid, but it's not as consistent in its temperature. It kind of fluctuates by about 20 degrees. And I think it goes down a little bit too low for this type of plant. So I'm gonna pot it up and leave it in here today so that we can just learn about it, and hopefully it will like this environment. But it likes warm, humid areas, and it actually doesn't like full sun. It can burn the leaves, so I think being in the greenhouse would be the wrong choice for this plant because it'd be really hard to control that. But in here, you know, you can emulate sunshine with your grow lights, but they don't burn plants like full sun does, like the real sun. And then with our ponytail palm right here, this one does not require a lot of humidity. We've got a broken leaf here. So I think this one's gonna be very versatile. We could pop this in the house or we can pop it in the Hartley. It likes a lot more light than the sago palm, or can tolerate a lot more light, which is great. And it does not need to be watered very often because it stores water in this great big trunk. And this is also not a true palm either. It's in the agave family. So it's just a really neat look, I think. And then this philodendron here, bright indirect light. It's not fussy about humidity. It's also not as fussy about light. It does want bright indirect light. Like the brighter the light without being full sun, the more growth you will see, but it can tolerate lower light conditions. It just won't grow quite as much. Same with temperature. If you give it a little bit warmer temperatures, it will grow and be a little bit more productive, like faster. But if you've got it in lower temperatures, then it just will kind of stunt it a little bit. None of these can handle real cold temperatures, but you know, if you've got it in a really cool room, it'll just kind of sit there and do its thing without putting on a ton of growth. And then of course our bird's nest fern, bright indirect light, again for ideal, you know, conditions. I've got a bird nest sitting in that corner though. It does great. Like they're very tolerant of low light conditions. If that's what you've got, it's also not as fussy about humidity. But if you've got a water bottle, which I've been trying to be better about doing this, you can come along, you know, and there we go. Give your plants a little bit of a spritz every once in a while. But I have to be careful about where I put those types of plants, because if I'm gonna be spraying something with water, I don't really want it on a surface that needs to be protected and that sort of thing. Like I have that fern arrangement sitting on our dining room table. It's beautiful, plants are doing great, but I come along with my mist bottle and I almost need to like put towels all the way around it so that that water doesn't just sit or settle on the table and ruin the surface. So I try to be really careful with that. And then our Haworthia. Haworthias are really easy to take care of. They are not fussy. They want to dry out like 100% between watering, which means, I mean, it'll depend on what kind of soil you have it in, what kind of container, where you've got it placed. Doesn't really want full sun because it can burn the leaves. It kind of wants to be a little bit protected. So bright indirect light again, and then just a real quick draining soil. Okay, so I'm gonna get everything cleared off of this table, and then we'll kind of walk through each one of these, and then I'll share any other information that I know. And if you have any experience with any of these plants, anything that you have gathered up, you know, with your own experience through the years, please share it with us in the comment section. Okay, I think we'll work with both of the bigger ones down on the ground. And I gathered up a few pots. I might have to run and grab some smaller ones for our Haworthia, but I figured we'd start with our bird nest fern first. For this one, we're going to be using the regular organic potting mix, and we'll use the same soil for our philodendron as well. First, let's take this out of its container. Roots look good, pretty thick though, so I am going to loosen them up just a little bit on the bottom. Yeah, the bottom's not bound at all. It's just like they've kind of wrapped around the sides. So I'm just going to kind of lightly with my finger scratch those roots up a bit. There's a damaged leaf right here. We'll just pop that off. These are really easy to groom. You don't need to use snips or scissors or anything. They just snap off easily. And then our soil. I feel like there are a few plants that make for really good gifts if you're looking for a gift for somebody. And I think if you want something other than like a ZZ plant, those are probably #1 best gift type of plant because they're the easiest plant to take care of and they can handle varying conditions. But this is also a really good one, I think. If you want something with this sort of texture to it, rather than the ZZ plant, which is more, you know, long branches with individual leaves that come off, they're just so easy. You know what, we can use this pot, sink it in, and then tamp in soil around it. This way we shouldn't have to add very much soil, if at all. And as always, I make sure that there is a decent sized lip so that when you're going into water, your water doesn't spill over the sides, because that is a bummer when that happens. Okay, we got our little hole here. So we should be able to just take our plant, pop it in. Easy, easy. Oh, love that. Now, the only thing that I would say about this one in terms of things to watch out for, if you see yellowing leaves, it's usually a sign that they're being overwatered. If you see the tips start to brown and dry, it might be a lack of humidity. You don't want to water this type of plant right from the middle. You don't want water to settle in the crown of that plant. So what you'll want to do is if you need to lift leaves up, do that, and just water the soil surface around the plant. That way it'll keep it very happy. And then again, you can come along every once in a while, give it a little mist, and that'll keep it happy too. That one is done. Okay, switch out soils here. Gonna need this pot next. And we are gonna be using for our ponytail palm, I think this is gonna be a good bump up size. I don't need a huge pot. So that's not like terribly big. I think it'll work. But you want the soil to dry out between waterings on this one. So again, that will mean different things for different people depending on your area. If you've really high humidity already, you might be able to go longer between waterings. We get so dry. Oftentimes I like to mix in some regular potting mix, and I think I am going to for the Sago palm. Just a little bit of regular potting mix in with our cactus mix just to help retain a little bit more moisture. Otherwise I'll be watering it all the time. Okay, let's take a look at the roots on this one. Healthy. I don't need to do anything to those. Love that. I hope I have enough of this, of the cactus mix. We'll see. I am so thankful for inside projects right now. Did I already mention, but it's really frosty and it's freezing, like it was freezing rain this morning. And I think that the house that they're building next door, like right by our greenhouse, I think they're roofing it today. So there's a lot of construction noise out there. Always thankful for projects inside on days like today. Okay, here we go. So this one just straight in. You know what? See how that's not centered? I think that's gonna drive me nuts. I'm going to kind of carve out this hole so that I can push the root ball over a little bit to center up the middle of the plant. These are really slow growers. So, you know, after you get it repotted, I don't even know how, especially this is a little bit bigger, quite a bit bigger than this one. I may not have to repot it for a few years. We'll see how it goes. But they like temps between 65 and 85, so interior temps do just fine. Yeah, that looks a little better. It's hard to decide sometimes, like, do you want this to be in the center? In that case, the bottom of our trunk here would be way over to the side, and I don't really necessarily want that either, so I'm kind of splitting the difference here. Do a nice rock top dress on this one, I think. See what kind of rocks I can find. I'm going to use these in the color gray, Kona gray. Hopefully I have enough. When I do a rock top dress, I want to make sure all the soil, all the fluffy soil is tamped down and that the rocks have a really nice bed of like flat soil to nest on top of. Doesn't that look pretty? I'm so excited about this plant. And it's actually surprising to me that I've never actually owned one of these. Okay, now we're gonna be working with our Haworthia. I'm gonna bring you guys in closer so you can see exactly what I'm doing here. Okay, so we're gonna slide the plant out. You can see just exactly what the roots look like here. The lower part's pretty soft. Like we can kind of fluff that out a bit. And then usually what we can do is just kind of get in here and gently pull the babies off the mother plant. Sometimes they have nice roots started, sometimes they don't yet. But like here is one that has a nice little set of roots there at the bottom. And then like this one right here has some little baby roots. They're not big yet, but they've started to form up, so that's perfect. So I like to kind of groom as I go here. It's interesting to see where all the roots come out. They come out like between each one of these leaves. If you get in here, I don't know if you guys can see that. Well, let me just pull off the leaf. So if we pull off a lower leaf, look, there's another root right there. I don't really want a lot of these lower leaves anyway. Just take all of these off. Now look at that. Look at all those fresh roots we just exposed. Okay, so we've got 2 new plants so far. Let's keep going. That one looks really good. Somehow doing this, it makes me be able to breathe better. Just looking at this plant separated instead of all jammed in there. Lots of roots on that one. And that's the original plant right there. Okay, let me clean this stuff off. So we ended up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 plants from that one 4-inch container, which we're gonna still use this. I'm gonna repot the mother plant back into this container, and I need to go find 10 more smaller plastic pots to repot the rest. Usually when I make divisions like this, especially with succulents, I like to just use whatever used plastic containers we have on hand to repot them instead of using some of my nicer terracotta or concrete pots, just because I want to make sure they take to their division. Sometimes you'll lose 1 or 2, sometimes you don't. So anyway, I give them some time and let them kind of settle in, and then we can repot them later into something nicer if we want. Whew, look at this. Paul and Bethany have been working on organizing Christmas lights, taking things down. Those are the wreaths off of the front gate. My goodness. Okay. So I need 10 containers. I think, 4 of them are pretty small, so I can use some pretty small containers like this. That's 4. And then 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ah, see this sedum pork and beans in that one. Graptopedilum right there. Nice to have a little back stock of these type of pots. Got some in here too. Check that out. And our massive, massive stacks of seed starting trays. My word. It's amazing to me how many of those get put to use here like shortly. Yeah, I think these 4 will fit into these containers, these littler ones, nicely. Kind of be the perfect size. Okie dokie, here we go. I'll scoot these to the side. Do the big one first. So we're gonna fill our container back up with the cactus mix. Try to make a nice sized well with my fingers here. And then we will insert this root system right down in. I like to shake it because that kind of helps settle the soil around the roots. And then I like to use my finger to tamp it in. Might need to add more soil, may or may not, it kind of depends. Each one's a little different. Look at that, that looks really nice. So a nice thing about the Haworthia is they can actually handle more alkaline soil, which we have alkaline soil and alkaline water. And even though I'm starting with a soil that's not high pH, it's not high in alkalinity, our water is. So whenever I water, it can add that into the soil. So these plants don't mind it, as opposed to like the Sago palm, they prefer acidic soil. So that's something we'll need to be mindful of. But these right here, they usually grow like 2 to 4 inches tall and wide, like not much bigger than this right here. Of course, the littler ones will grow a little bit bigger, and they prefer temps between 60 and 80, but they can withstand temps if it's only for a short time down to 50. So if like you live in an area where it hardly gets down to 50 ever, but it might, you know, from time to time, if you have 1 or 2 nights like that, it's not gonna hurt them. It won't kill them. Anyway, they're a little bit more versatile, a little more of a tough plant in terms of cold. Okay, we've got 10 more to repot. Okay, littlest one first. Two, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. I counted wrong somehow. All right, well, gotta go get one more pot. Whoop. Okay, I gotta move all these. Look at all those. Can you believe that all of those came from this one container? That's just amazing to me. So now we essentially kind of like have 10 free plants, right? Because when I bought it, it was just 1. And now we've got all these babies. I just love that. Now, just point of reference, this is a 4 dry quart bag. There was a little bit left in this bag. So it took 1 full bag plus a little bit left in this one to do all of these and our ponytail palm. I feel like that stretched nicely. Okay, so our little houseplant projects are done. Now we're gonna move down to the ground to get our big ones all potted up. Okay. Oh. I don't know if you guys can see this pot. Let me figure out what diameter this is. Also, I've got an extension cord running through here going toward the fan that's blowing on the seedlings. Get this out of the way. Okay, so our pot interior dimension is 14.5 inches or so. And I want to say that's like a 10-inch pot that it's in right now. So now we're going to make a little bit of a mess. I want to pop that plant out and look at the root ball, and then we'll have the pot as our guide. Got to be careful with these too, because when I was putting this in the car, I nearly poked my eye with one of these branches. So just like be aware of that. Wear glasses if you need to. Ooh, I might need to cut this off. I'd rather cut the pot off than risk breaking the plant somehow. it's not root bound at all. I mean, there's some nice healthy looking roots down toward the bottom. Things are looking nice. Now these are really slow growing as well, and typically when you have them in a pot as opposed to in the ground, and I think this is true of most everything, it's not gonna grow as big. Like these can grow upwards of like 10 feet wide at maximum, I think, but it takes years and like decades to get that big. In fact, they say that they usually grow maybe an inch or two a year and maybe even only produce one frond, or is that what they're called? One branch a year. And they grow in this really pleasing symmetrical kind of ring around the center. So gorgeous. Okay, so this is all the cactus soil that I have on hand right now. So what I'm going to do is use this at the bottom of the container so that at the, the bottommost part of the soil, which is typically where most of the moisture is retained, it will be the fastest draining part. And then we can put around the top a little bit more of the organic potting mix, kind of the regular soil. Here in our area, because we are so dry, it doesn't typically matter all that much, thankfully. Okay, we're going to backfill around this pot. Okay, let's lift this out. Let's see. Oh, perfect. So we should be able to just slide this root ball right down in. Oh, look at that, it was so easy. Oh, and I think it's gonna be happy in here. Look at how pretty that is in this container. I'm so happy with it. So you can see I just planted it right at wherever its current soil level was, and just made sure to tamp in the soil around the root ball once we put it in there to make sure there was no air pockets. But we're gonna water everything in today as well, and that will help expose anything, any issues, like any areas where we need to add more soil or not. Out of all the plants we're working with today, I feel like this is going to be maybe the fussiest one because it needs higher humidity, it needs more acidic soil. It is a little bit fussy about light. It doesn't want or cannot handle any direct sunlight. It needs to be in an area where it's protected. If it's going to get sunshine, it needs to be like morning sun that's dappled, like no full-on sun. But it's going to be fun to see what this one does, which may not be much for several years. But most of these too, we're gonna be fertilizing on a monthly basis. And like for this one, I'll use the cactus and succulent liquid fertilizer. So monthly basis, spring through fall, they're in its active growing season. And in the winter, you can keep going with it if you want, especially if you've got it in an interior setting where the conditions aren't really changing. Or you can back off a little bit on it and also back off a little bit on watering during that season as well. I just wanna like touch these leaves. They're so cool. Okay, this is our last one, and I'm not really feeling this container. I think I want to go find a pretty like gray concrete container based on where I'm putting it in the house. I think that might look a little bit better. And I need to go grab another bag of soil anyway, so let's go do that. Whew. Looks like the frost is gone now. Okay, oh, right here. That was easy. Boy, when everything is organized like it is out here, it makes finding things so fast. This will be gorgeous. Do I have any extra pot feet? Like big concrete ones? I don't think so. I think I've got all of my big concrete pot feet in use by our great room door. Okay, I'm gonna kind of start creating our well here. Oh, this one's up in my business. Okay, and let's see if we can gently slide this one out. Oh yeah, that looks good. Gently tease some of these out just a little bit. Uh-oh. Man down, I lost a leaf. Oh, perfect. I think that plant was pretty much up to the top of the rim here, so I'm just gonna make sure that our soil level about meets that. Okay, pop it out. And in the plant goes. Beautiful. I'm gonna add just a little bit more. Humidity. All right, so here's the Sago palm. I tucked it into kind of where our camera equipment is right here because we don't actually ever walk there because we don't want to hit the tripod legs. So usually like when we film the recap, Aaron's standing right there and he'll just walk around all the cameras and stand there. So I think this is the perfect spot because I don't think anybody will actually clip it when they walk by, and we'll just see how things go. And it's gonna get some bright light from the grow lights right there. And it's so pretty. I just love it. And then here are the rest of our plants right here. So our philodendron, we're gonna take that inside here in a minute, as well as the bird nest fern. And we're gonna take the ponytail palm to the Hartley, and the Haworthias are gonna stay here. I did grab some water so we could water these in, and I'm just gonna give them just a little bit here. I try my best to hit the soil and not the plants. One-handed, it's a little bit harder. Go, just settling them into their new homes. Just like that. And let's go ahead and water our sago since that's staying in here. And I'm just trying to get water around all the edges. There. Shouldn't need to water that one for a while now. All the containers that are still nice, I keep those and we'll use them for other projects. I do have a plastic container. I'm gonna wash this once we get inside, and maybe I could get away with a smaller one. But I need to go down to the garden center and pick up a gray clay saucer. They've got them, and I think they've got one big enough to accommodate this container. I don't really love to use plastic, especially inside, but we're just gonna have to do that for today until I have a chance to run down and grab that. And we're not gonna water this until we get it in because it's already very heavy. And then same with these, we'll water these once we get them in, but I need to find some saucers. This has been glazed. Perfect. I think it was last winter we had just picked up all of these clay containers down at the garden center, and most of them except for the largest size came with saucers, but they were unglazed, which, as you know, the clay or terracotta, they weep water, which is great for the plants. I mean, the oxygen can freely flow through the container. The plant's roots tend to like that quite a lot, but if you get too much moisture pooled in that saucer and it's not glazed, it will weep through that saucer as well and ruin potentially the surface it's sitting on. So I don't know if you can see there's like a sheen on this one because we glazed these, and we'll pop a picture of the product we used up on the screen. It's a Rust-Oleum product, and I did 2 coats on each one of the saucers, and it just keeps all the water inside. So let's get all of our plants put in their new homes. It's too cold to take these out in the outside without any protection on them, so I'm just gonna wrap them up with a piece of this frost protection cloth here, and I think that'll do just for the walk over to the Hartley into the house. Oh, look at that. Oh, that looks pretty. I'm so excited about that. We have our shark fin rickrack cactus here, which, you know, we had to attack all the mealybugs that were on it. But it has since started to push new leaves. Like, look at that one. There's a new leaf here, here, here. Right here, there's some new growth on the end. The new growth always looks a little bit more pale in color. So that's exciting. I'm hoping that it stays happy and it keeps filling back in. But the ponytail palm will get plenty of light on sunny days. We're a little overcast today, but plenty of light in here, should be happy. And since humidity is not a concern in this structure, even though enclosed, it usually stays a bit drier. I think it will do well. And I do still have our Christmas tree up in here. You can see I've got the tubs. I think I'm gonna try to tackle that later this evening, at least just get the decorations off. We can leave the tree up for the rest of January just for the lights. Love the twinkle lights in here. Okay, get my cloth. We'll carry our bird nest fern inside, and then I'm gonna probably ask for help carrying in the philodendron. That one's a little bit heavy for me. Kind of awkward. There we go. Oh, pretty. Okay, now let's see if we can get it spread out.
It's like a jacket.
Exactly. Like a little blankie, keep it warm. I think that will suffice.
I'm just carrying this thing?
Yeah.
Serious?
Yeah. You got it, Aaron. You're strong.
Overestimate.
No, I don't. I don't overestimate you at all.
Just use me for my strength.
Oh, see, look at you. Whew. Oh, very nice. Thank you. Oh, that looks pretty. Whew. Just making sure everything is good. It fits beautifully in here. Do you like the plant? Yeah. It's pretty. All right, so here is the philodendron. This is a west-facing window, so a lot of light does pour through into this room on a sunny day. And there was just this hole right here. This is Aaron and my Christmas gift to each other, right there. Just needed to put something green next to it. We actually haven't bought each other anything in a number of years, especially since we've had kids. We've just decided let's not exchange. Let's just focus on the kids. And then this year, we decided to treat each other and get the massage chair, and it's been so nice, you guys. But I think that philodendron will be really happy right there because of the amount of light it will get, and we can twist the plant too, so that, you know, once the plant corrects, because it's a little bit more open on this side, and see how the leaves are like naturally facing this way, which makes me think that's how it was displayed, like it was getting more light from this side. So they'll naturally kind of turn toward the window, and then we can just rotate the plant to keep it nice and happy and in a good shape. And the bird nest fern went right on this little table. I had a poinsettia on here for Christmas time, but I just needed something nice and green. This whole setup used to be on the other side of the room, actually. It used to be over there. But this right here is the kids' toy cupboard, which you can see there's puzzles and there's toys in here. And usually they have toys spilling out everywhere on the floor and on this table. This is kind of their play table. So I was seeing that, all of the toy mess every single day from the kitchen. Like, or if anybody walked in our house through the kitchen door, which is the door we use the most, they'd have a straight line of sight into the great room and they would just see a disaster. I'm not talking like a few toys. These kids get out a ton of toys, which I want them to do. And, you know, we've thought about moving all the toys up to their rooms and things, but I like to have them down here. I want them to be able to play in the area where we're kind of hanging out. So having them on this side of the room where you just can't see them as easily, it's been perfect. Oh, and I stepped outside because I got hot and I wasn't even the one who carried that big philodendron. But I'm so happy to have those plants done. The Haworthia can breathe now, and it has room to grow and flourish and even create more babies, because all of those little individual plants will create babies of their own. And it'll go on and on and on. And then we'll see on the rest of these how they all do, but I think we've got them positioned in nice areas. They've all got the right amount of light. I think the humidity is good for all of them, so we should be good to go. Anyway, that's it for today's projects. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing the new houseplants. We will be working, like I said, with the ones that we got the other day that are sitting in the Hartley. We'll put those together and get them kind of spread out around the house, and that'll be a fun day as well. It's actually shaping up to be not so bad out here. And it could be because I'm hot and had that big coat on, you know, traipsing plants back and forth, but not too bad. Overcast, but mild. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.